Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Welcome back. Game number 2 between EG's DeMusliM and Grubby. As we can see here in the bottom left corner of Xel'Naga Caverns, we do have DeMusliM as the red Terran player, and in the upper right here is our buddy Grubby as the green Protoss. Last game we did see Grubby just really manhandle DeMusliM's army. That late game Protoss, so incredibly effective against Terran. The Colossus, the High Templar, just so much to deal with, very difficult to handle as a Terran player, dealing with those storms, dealing with that Colossus fire. You need EMPs, you need Vikings. It comes down to positioning, and it doesn't always work out. DeMusliM did have a hard time, and a big thing that happened last time, as you can see there, is that DeMusliM just mentioned, hey, I didn't see those DT, I didn't hear those DT slashing away at my army. Big reason to play with game sound. Obviously, I'm sure DeMusliM is, but just to reinforce that idea that if you do not hear those DT, that can be a bit of an issue come big battles. But yes, DeMusliM got his army torn to shreds from Dark Templar in one big engagement, and that was one of the main reasons Grubby was allowed to basically mop him up after that point. So DeMusliM, of course, going to be opening up with standard fare. Going to expect a refinery sometime very soon at around 13 supply. There's the barracks, going to be placed over here in the left corner, far away from the front. You do not want those buildings at the front against a Protoss player. Very easy to get those picked off during any pushes, and losing a production building is obviously a huge problem. The reason he might be getting this bunker, though, is if he needs to fend off early aggression. Say for some reason Grubby, he scouted Grubby, was going for crazy early aggression. This would allow him to place a bunker and then get another depot for that early game defense if necessary, but it's not ideal because, again, you can lose the depots. If you had a barracks up there, you can lose the barracks, so that's not ideal. You always want that kind of tucked away nice and safe in your base, away from any early pressure that could actually take it out. And yeah, there you have it. So we can see SCV Scout moving on across right now for DeMusliM. Going to be checking for an expo, going to be checking what he has for production buildings, all of that stuff. We are, of course, going to see Grubby move around with this harassing probe, trying to do a little bit of damage, just trying to harass, be a nuisance, but then head out of there before that Marine finishes. We can see that Marine just about ready to pop, so he's, of course, going to want to head on out of there. Going to still stick around as long as humanly possible to be a pain in the butt, and there we go, finally forced away. DeMusliM looks like he is coming out with a reactor here on that first barracks. Second barracks being placed down. Going to assume this is going to be a 2 racks expand. This is pretty much what you will be seeing if that is in fact the build that the Terran player is going for. Also pulled the guy off the gas, so I'm 100% sure that we're going to be seeing a 2 racks expand right now. Now taking a look over here at the same time, DeMuslim's trying to delay and deny that expansion of Grubby. You can see stopping the production of that engineering bay at the very last moment. This will of course allow him to cancel it once he gets low in health and get at least a portion of those resources back. But the entire point of this is just to delay that expansion, even if it's just for a short while. Take a look inside of Grubby's base. What is going on? Chrono boosting out that Stalker. Does have that Warp Gate research coming. Not a whole heck of a lot else besides that. We don't see a Robo Bay yet, so we'll have to wait and see if he gets another Robo Bay or if he gets some additional gateways. We could see a 1 gate or a 3 gate expand. Those are the most popular things, unless of course he goes for Robo, in which case he might be teching up or at least wanting that fast observer. DeMusliM, here we go. Second racks is up. Tech Lab coming down in there, pumping out those double Marines right now. Early game defense, allowing him to maybe provide a little bit of early game pressure as well. We have Concussive Shell coming out and another Marauder, first Marauder rather. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be seeing a bit of aggression here early game for DeMusliM. He might be pushing out once he gets maybe 1 or 2 Marauders, see if he can do any bit of damage. Then also checking his base for any proxy pylons, any hidden probes, anything fancy like that. Loving the pylon placement over here. You know, we've been seeing Grubby pretty much all game go with a very interesting pylon placement, or what I mean to say rather is that he's been putting pylons just all over the place, allowing him different avenues of warping in. We can see we got 1 pylon hanging out down here. This of course is going to make him aware that this expansion's coming up, and there you go. Now he is fully aware of the fact that DeMusliM is in fact expanding, and it looks like yes, 3 gate expand is what I can expect right now from our buddy Grubby. Let's take a look back over here. A big bulk of forces over there. Another rack's coming out as well. As we can see, of course, DeMusliM does have that expansion up and running, so we're going to want to see an expansion come out from Grubby as well. Is this going to be it? I believe so. Let's see him hit those 400 resources, and bam, there it is. Expo goes up right now. Grabbing that Xel'Naga Tower, always going to be a good idea. Grubby will see when his opponent comes. Never mind. Pulling back. Oh, maybe this guy's going to grab the Xel'Naga Tower in their stead. Maybe not. Maybe that is not what's going to happen. Sentry's being warped in here in the low ground due to that wonderful pylon placement. Another proxy pylon over here. Again, man. Ooh, looks like he did lose the one over here. DeMusliM was made aware of that, so took that out very quickly. But look, again, like I mentioned, just pylons all over the place. He had one back here. Got one in this corner as well, just allowing him that scouting, giving him some avenues of later game harassment. I love that play. Very effective. Using those proxy pylons can definitely be a very smart idea indeed. Going to be seeing a transfer of workers right now for DeMusliM, moving right on down to that expo. Taking a look back over here for Grubby, expansion still isn't up yet. It looks like we are seeing some aggression come out for DeMusliM right now, so lots of Marines, a couple Marauders mixed in there as well. Now with these quick expand builds, a lot of times you're going to see the Protoss player go very, very sentry heavy. 6 sentries, 5 or 6 sentries, pretty much the norm. What this allows you to do is fend off pushes like this, but let's see what happens. Guardian Shield going down. Force fields as expected. The main purpose behind this, of course, is cutting the army in half. You can see all these guys completely out of range. That's actually going to force DeMusliM to push on back right now. He just doesn't want to deal with it. No reason to lose half your army while another half is just kind of sitting around with their thumbs up their butts, not doing a whole lot. There's really no reason to deal with that. That's the most frustrating thing about force fields, especially early game when you've got no means of trampling them. You need some sort of a massive unit basically to run over those. Otherwise, well, that's pretty much that is that. That is all there is. And what did I just do? I just moved something over there, so that's cool. I don't know what I did. Oh, I just hit spacebar, and that kind of bounces me around. Well, that's cool. Look at that, guys. I thought I fast-forwarded or something. Anyways, so just seeing back and forth over here. DeMusliM just trying to maintain control of the center of the map. We do have that one probe grabbing the Zelnog over here. Looks like at this point in the game, both players just going to be macroing up. You can see we've got some upgrades coming. We've got transitions coming, factory making its way on through. We do have an engineer bay coming out, so allowing our buddy DeMusliM to get some upgrades over here. And obviously, Grubby's going to be starting to get some upgrades as soon as he gets a forge in, whenever that does happen. But we do have that robotics coming on through, so going to allow him to get that observer, of course, and then going to allow him probably to get that bay. I would obviously have to assume that that bay would be coming up next. Marauder moving around, getting some scouting info. He is going to be, of course, checking at the same time this third. You can see if there was a third up and running, DeMusliM would be aware of that. So obviously a good idea there. But another big thing is trying to catch any proxy pylons hidden around the map, stuff like that. Going to be effective. And one Zealot actually hanging out over here, taking out this depot, put it over here by DeMusliM to get any scouting information from any possible pushes. We had another Zealot streaming on through, but I'm assuming that that did get taken care of. And looks like this Zealot is going to get dropped here as well. Can he take out a Marine though before he gets taken? There we go. Finally pulling back there. DeMusliM stopping that Zealot from killing his poor Marine. That would have been very sad, and that Marine would not have been happy whatsoever. What else do we have coming in? Bunch of Zealots. I mean, I'm pretty much expecting right now. Again, we don't see anything cheesy. We don't see or not cheesy, but we don't see any sort of aggressive tendencies right now. I'm not seeing any drops coming in the future, although it is possible because we do have these medevacs coming out, so we might be seeing some drops. But I'm not seeing DT come out. I'm just seeing some standard macro play from both players. Here are the upgrades. Robotics Bay coming up, so we're going to start seeing this Colossus. And I would assume, of course, Grubby is just going to build up his army and then maybe poke and prod into the middle. But I don't know. I don't expect any big pushes anytime soon. Pylon does get dropped though. DeMusliM is checking for that all over the map because he is aware at this point that the Grubby really enjoys doing that, placing those pylons all over the place. And that's of course the big danger in doing so. Stemmed up Marine going to be chasing down the probe. Is he going to get it? I don't believe so. It's quite possible though. Look how fast that guy is, a little Speedy Gonzalez. And there we go, takes care of that probe. And we do have an observer moving around with the army of DeMusliM. Grubby can see everything he's doing, where he is, and what he has going on. Another starport coming out, double medevacs starting things out, then moving into double Vikings, of course, to deal with those Colossus. Looks like we are seeing DeMusliM try to go for this expo right here. Going to be breaking down these rocks at the exact same time, having those Zealots go for these rocks over here. So Grubby opening up this avenue as well so that he, in fact, can go to the high yield too. One Zealot moving forward, trying to get the Marine, but no. Marines and Marauders of DeMusliM pulling on up and going to take care of that very quickly. And again, look guys, both players just back and forth, but no one being too aggressive. Would be really awesome if we could see DeMusliM go for some drops. Maybe one medevac filled with Marines or something, stemmed up in the resource line, can take out a whole bunch of workers. That can be very effective. Going to be very difficult to actually do much of anything over here. Loving this placement over here, cutting back on the possible movement of any sort of drops or any sort of harassment that could be taking place. So very nice positioning here of these buildings by Grubby. Back here in the middle, Looks like that one zealot does get taken care of again. As we can see here, guys, not a whole lot going on, just some scouting and macro and working on the army, working for that later game, working for that big final engagement whenever it does come through. But look at this giant Protoss army rolling right towards these few Marines and Marauders. Those guys, of course, are going to want to stim back and pull away. That's the last thing they want to run into right now. Grubby checking to see if he can do any damage. Looks like he's going to be bringing the Stalker back around. He does know about this depot, so maybe just wants to start working on that. Also, with the Stalker right here, he will be, of course, scouting the Expo to see if DeMusliM has moved out. What we've seen this game, guys, is just a very good example of how to play generally in your late game plays. You keep scouting those Expos, keep finding out where your opponent is, try to vie for control for the middle of the map. If you have the middle of the map, you're in a tremendously good position. Grubby actually getting a pylon right up here, so he's opened up both avenues right now. He can drop the Expo over here because he got rid of these rocks, and he's also got this Expo up here. It's really going to come down to whether or not he's worried about a lot of the center of the map aggression. If he's worried about that, then getting the Expo up here could be much more difficult, and maybe he'd just want to fall back to moving it over here. But it looks like the probe was taken care of, actually. One Stim Marine did drop that very quickly. Grubby pushing forward, though. Marines and Marauders getting a little caught out of position, so there's a few free kills from Grubby. I'm pretty sure he didn't lose anything, getting a free Marine right there as well. That Marine, man, he was not happy at all. Turns around and he sees this thing walking right up in his face. He must have not been thrilled whatsoever. But pulling back right now, Grubby is heading on back home for no reason in particular other than he just doesn't want to engage quite yet. I'm taking a look over here. What do we have for research? Looks like that charge is finished. We are going to see a Dark Shrine, so some DT are going to come into play. He does have that level 2 armor upgrade coming out, so level 1 finished. Looks like the pylon did just get dropped by DeMusliM. DeMusliM doesn't want any unnecessary proxy pylon stim going down. But force fields, oh force fields, how frustrating as a Terran player is that? You stim up, you're ready to engage, and the Protoss player just says, nope, don't think so, not today, not right now at least, and drops those force field and forces you to push back. And so now DeMusliM has a whole bunch of damaged Marines and Marauders from stim. Gonna try to heal them up, but it's gonna take these medevacs quite some time, and I'm not even sure they're gonna be able to heal every single one of them up. He is, of course, very Viking heavy because he needs to be just to deal with Colossus. Colossus are so threatening, and if you don't have those Vikings to deal with them, then you're just in a whole heap of a lot of trouble. Looks like he is sitting on quite a heavy amount of Vikings, though. It seems like it may be a bit much, and taking a few shots there from the Stalkers. Of course, you want to make sure that that does not happen. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense at all. There are those Colossus as well, getting ready to engage. Let's look at the hotkeys here as well. We've got all the Colossus on 2, the rest of the army here on 1. Pretty standard. You have a bulk of your army on the hotkey number 1, and then kind of specialized units you need to protect. Put them on 2 or 3, and there you have it. Looks like 3 is the Observer here for Grubby. I'm talking about hotkeys because there really hasn't been a whole lot of action again. Just been a very macro-focused game, not a lot of harassment. 2 Stalkers, looks like they're going to take down this depot, trying to push forward, but again, we do have that wonderful force field. Looks like we are seeing a split here from DeMusliM, though. DeMusliM with his forces in 2 different positions. I'm almost thinking that he may try to engage, given that posture right there. There's a scan, spotting the fact that Grubby's army is not there, and here it comes right now. Stim, Marines, and Marauders pushing forward. Some nice force field units in the back doing nothing. Vikings gonna try to target fire down these Colossus. Also some Marauders moving to the backside. There we go, drop that Colossus as well. Down to just 1 Colossus, reinforcement Colossus moving on in. But looks like the Bio army was not enough. He's going to be forced to land down with these Vikings. DT in there as well. Finally, this game, they do get scanned to get taken care of. This one, DT still going to town, though. 4 kills. Looks like he's going to be getting some more. And oh no, DeMusliM. DeMusliM just lost all of his army there in that engagement. Gonna be forced to re-up here. He's got that production coming, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. We're going to see another warp in very soon from Grubby. Taking a look at the army tab, 51 to 45. That's going to slowly tilt in Grubby's favor, though, because of that warp ins, being able to get in those units so quickly. Also expecting, of course, that continuous Colossus production is pushing forward. Needs to be careful. Very nice force fields, though, forcing those guys, the Marines and Mirage, to pull away. And he's going to be target firing down the sentries because he is sick and tired of force fields. I do not blame him. There's another force field. Last sentry gets taken care of, but uh-oh. Going back to his friends over here, we've got those charge zealots. We, of course, have some blink stalkers here as well. DT moving on down. Is he going to do any damage? He's just kind of dancing around. And, oh, gets scanned, taken care of. See you later. 1 proxy pylon chilling out over here. We do have 1 DT trying to harass and stop any expo over there. Another DT over here as well. But here comes another engagement. Charge Zealots pushing forward. Colossus moving on in as well. This Charge Zealot's going to be very effective against that weakened up Bio army. There is that second charge. And those Marauders are going to get taken care of very quickly. Not a lot of ground forces left. Going to try to micro away, but the charge off cooldown again. catching back up. That expansion is forced to lift off. It doesn't get taken care of. Yes, Blink Stalkers blinking under and dropping it. That's a big problem for DeMusliM. Losing that Expo is pretty much the worst thing that could happen. DeMusliM saying he's not really sure what to do and calling the GG. This game we saw quick expansions from both players. DeMusliM going for that 2 racks expand, and Grubby going for a 3-gate expand. With his 2 racks worth of Marines and Marauders, DeMusliM did try to push out against Grubby, but with some well-placed force fields, Grubby had no problem fending off the army and actually forcing DeMusliM to retreat because of all of his units being inactive in the background. The majority of the rest of the game was just a huge macro fest, with both players' armies just kind of dancing around each other in the center of the map. DeMusliM's first attempt at an engagement was nullified by some great force field placements by Grubby. We can see DeMusliM here going to stim up, try to engage, but Grubby denying him very quickly with those force fields. And then our first big engagement did come 17 minutes into the game, and again, you're going to see the effectiveness of force fields. So many units out of range, so very frustrating to deal with. Another thing, too, is that DeMusliM was very, very Viking heavy, and in all honesty, there weren't that many Colossus. Also, throwing some DT in the mix, again, Grubby was able to do tremendous amounts of damage to DeMusliM's army. DeMusliM did finally throw down a scan, but not before it was too late, and again, DT thrown in the mix with those Colossus proved to be quite devastating. And even after losing that first big engagement, DeMusliM did try to engage again with his Marines and Marauders. That proved to be a mistake, though, as Charge Zealots proved to be a bit too much for him to handle, and then we got the GG from DeMusliM. So there you go, guys. Grubby taking out DeMusliM 2-0. Late game Protoss with DT in the mix just proved to be a bit too much for him to handle in these games. Been some very interesting games. Hopefully you guys enjoyed them. I did get asked for some more Grubby, and there were some more Grubby matches to be casted, so there you have it. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it. As always, guys, if you like the content, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Keep watching and keep owning.